Hello, this is Sadaf Khan here, and I have with me Mike Bader, and he's going to be sharing his personal story with us today and give us a lot of information. Could you tell us a little bit of a background in the beginning of what has happened to you, and how did you cut your finger while working?
Well, most of my life I've been a woodworker, and I was working in a cabinetry company for a couple of years, and my finger got cut off. Well, the end of it, just the top third of it was cut off. And I didn't get the help I needed. I couldn't get anywhere with Wsib. Both me and my stepfather tried calling repeatedly for 2 weeks. They would not return our calls whatsoever. Finally, we did get through to them. And all they wanted to do was to send me back to work. They didn't ask if I was okay or how the recovery was going or anything. They just sent me back to work. Couldn't do the work. Then they sent me to physiotherapy, but that was 5 months after the accident. And I kept telling them, something needs to be done surgically because there's something going on in there. And they wouldn't believe me. 6 years later, my stump actually erupted open because there was a fingernail growing in there, but that was 6 years later, and I had to argue for years with doctors and stuff that there was something wrong, and they still wouldn't do anything. So eventually, when it became pretty obvious that I couldn't use a table saw or power tools anymore, they sent me to college, and at first I went to George Brown, but the pressure from the WSIB wanted me to do 3 years of high school in 3 months. And yeah, I had serious anxiety issues because of it, so the doctors prescribed me lorazepam. I got addicted to the lorazepam. So I didn't leave my apartment for about 2 weeks. I flushed the lorazepam, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking weed, and I just waited for the withdrawals to pass, waited for the addiction to basically break. And then after that, WSIB sent me to a computer college. Well, this college, again, they didn't teach us everything they were supposed to teach us. They didn't have a lot of the tools that they were supposed to have. And after I had gotten out, I simply didn't have the skills or experience for what a lot of companies were looking for. So after that, WSIB cut me off, and I just went to an agency for whatever job I could find, just to pay the bills until I could find something permanent, something better. And well, simultaneously my knees failed, my back failed, my elbows failed, and I literally worked until I could not walk. And I couldn't work, I couldn't pay the bills, so I got evicted and ended up homeless because of that, and that just made my mental health issues even worse because the anxiety that I dealt with back at George Brown was never addressed or taken care of. I kept trying to go and go and go, and WSIB just kept pushing me to go and go and go. They didn't really care if I had issues or not. And so I ended up homeless, and that made things even worse. Because, first of all, I'm in extreme pain. I can hardly walk. It was a brutal winter that year. That was the year we had the ice storm. And my shoes...
What year was it?
2013, 2014.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's when we had that ice storm, and my shoes, they had huge gaping holes in them. I was quite literally walking around barefoot. In the winter time, got bad frostbite, we kept getting sick, and the life in a shelter is terrible. First of all, you're filled with, just crackheads, junkies, raging alcoholics, and very shady characters. When I ended up homeless, I expected to see people like me, cancer patients, people who got, bad car accident, couldn't pay the bills, stuff like that. Most of them are just drug addicts. And it's just the same thing over and over again. They just want to get high. They don't care about it. And it really made me mad because I couldn't walk, and ODSP, the Ontario Disability Support Program, would not help me. I did not qualify for it even though I couldn't walk, but these people who chose to go out and do a drug, they are immediately, put on ODSP, and they don't have to go to rehab or counseling or detox or NA or anything like that. And I would see them every day going out stealing hundreds of dollars of stuff for more drug money. Meanwhile, I could barely freaking move around.
Okay, so what has your lawyer been doing all this time?
Fighting and fighting and fighting. Eventually, we did have a hearing, and we did go to
What year?
It was in 2015.
So the hearing you guys had in 2015, what was the verdict?
They ruled in our favor. We're since 2013. We're all
about your stress. Did you had an opportunity to manage or to do anything for your stress?
No, I had no counseling. I had no support. I had I had nothing.
We want to thank you for chatting with us about this and being so open about your journey. Thank you so much.